What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Hoops Betting Hour. I am your host, the big man on campus, Jeff Nadu. We are back here live on a Saturday, the final Saturday of the NBA regular season. Playoffs get going next week. I am here, as always, presented by PicksWise and powered by the great folks at FanDuel. Go check out FanDuel now. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it is an interesting day of hoops. We've got games today. We've got games tomorrow. And we've got teams today, as opposed to last night, I think, that are a little bit more juxtaposed to play well. Last night had a lot of games where games didn't mean anything. Players didn't play for more than 15, 20 minutes. We got a lot to iron out. What we'll do is we will do our best to bring you who's in, who's out for these teams, what games matter, what teams need to do to improve seeding. Here's the thing. There are no teams that are playing today, Spread Astaire, who's our guest today, that there are no teams, Spread, that are, if they win this game, in the playoffs. There are no teams like that. With the playing game, it's a little different this year. Now, there are teams that are out of the playoffs against teams that are in the playoffs and that are jockeying for playoff positioning, which we'll get into. But I think from our guest yesterday, Ian Cameron, I know me, for instance, I'm always kind of a low-volume guy, but you'd have to admit today and tomorrow are probably days where you want to be pretty low volume from what you're picking from.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with using some discretion, and we will have plenty of opportunities once the playoffs start to go ahead and make some really sharp wagers. So there's nothing wrong with just picking and choosing and being a real picky eater these next couple days.
Exactly. And as I said, though, when we look at today's selections, there are much better games, right? Games right out of the gate that mean something. You know, the Lakers are playing for something. The Knicks are playing for something. The Miami Heat are playing for something. The Suns are still shooting for a 1 seed. So, there's a lot to kind of iron out still in some of these games. Before we do that, though, I want to recap last night. And, look, for me, it wasn't a very good night. Props were not good to me. I struck out on them. It was a rough night for the players I backed. And it sucked because – and that's sometimes the way the cookie crumbles with props. Props are you're really at the mercy of the coach. And towards the end of the season, you're going to get these games where, players just don't play that much. I had anticipated that Michael Porter Jr. would have a full run last night. He didn't. He didn't play that much. He also didn't shoot the ball well at all. I guess I'll ask you, Spread, is Michael Malone just not going to sit Jokic at all? This guy's – I guess they're just – I don't know what the thought process here with this is. I know they said him a little last night, but he hasn't had a full game off, I don't think, in a long time.
Yeah, it's absolutely wild, and we'll get into that a little bit tomorrow with the Portland Denver game that has a big playoff implications, and we'll see if they end up sitting him. A lot of rumors around that. I was really surprised, too. Everyone else seems to be getting some rest. He's already got the MVP locked up, so it's not like they're making a push for that. I'm really surprised as well that they've been putting so much on him, but Malone's kind of old school and it's showing out.
Yeah, I guess from what I'm insinuating, it seems like Malone's kind of going to Jokic and saying, hey, what do you want to I don't know if that's the right way to do things. But as you said, everything's locked up as far as the MVP. Not that I think Jokic – I think if he has Jokic, he doesn't even care. Maybe deep down he does just a little, but he knows it's already clinched. So I don't know what we're really arguing about. I'm surprised that Jokic has played so much. So there you go with that. I had Colin Sexton over props. I can't really knock that. That's been real good to me, so I'm not going to knock it too much. I think I won every Colin Sexton prop I played outside of last night. So, that kind of ends the season there. I'm not going to be playing tomorrow night with that game. But you look at that game in particular last night against Washington. Darius Garland comes back and plays 12 minutes. There were guys that just had a little bit more. And, look, Sexton had an opportunity. He got to 31 with the 35.5. There was a stretch where he just didn't play a ton of minutes, and that kind of came back to bite me. One other one, it wasn't that Tim Hardaway didn't play. Tim Hardaway just didn't shoot the ball well. I had Tim Hardaway and Michael Porter just didn't shoot the ball real well. You're not going to hit props on points, rebounds, and assists, or even just points. If the players don't play, it's just that simple. So, or they don't shoot well. So what are you going to do? Sixers rolled. They had that for a little bit, so that made a little bit of money back. But We're looking to bounce back here today. I've overall had a pretty good 2 weeks. How have your weeks been going, Spread, as we end the season here?
Last week was really rough. Bounce back this week. Definitely dialed down the volume a little bit. Was pretty selective and was able to be successful there. And I just can't wait for Tuesday and these play-ins to kick off, right? Because right now, what do? We wake up and we go straight to the injury report. That will be out the window. I can go ahead and close that tab out, as we can expect most of the players to be playing every night unless something serious is going on.
Yeah, it's always a good feeling, right? When you can go into games and you don't have to. And you know what? Like, honestly, and I'll say this with, I'm sure you would agree to a point. It cuts down on the amount of time you have to spend on these cards, because you don't have to sit there and figure out who's playing and, the different things. If you're going into the playoffs, I'm just being honest, if you're going into the NBA playoffs and it's taking you hours to cap cards, and I don't know if it does for you, Spread, but it shouldn't. You should have kind of what these teams are, what they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So let's get into it. Let's see where we're at here with these games today. Shout out to a couple of people in the chat. If you're out there and you're checking out the show, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you're new around here, we're here every day at 12 Eastern breaking down these games. I bring on everyone who's everyone in the NBA Twitter gambling community. So make sure you check us out. Hit the like button. Tell your friends. Look, here, I'm imploring anyone that's watching this show right now. If you have a Twitter account, go do me a favor and retweet the show. If you do that on Twitter, I'll give you a nice surprise here on the show. So very simple. If you have this show and you're watching it right now and you hear what I'm saying and you have a Twitter account, retweet this show. If you do that, I'll say something very nice about you and give you something nice. So there you go. All right, let's get into it. By the way, tomorrow there is a bevy of games. We're going to jump on here. Spread and I will be here at noon. But Monday, there's going to be no show. It's that simple. So at 12 noon, there's not going to be anything here. We'll be back for the playing games next week. Okay, Spread, let's get into it. Knicks, this is at 1:15 Eastern. I'll share the time. 1:15 Eastern, New York Knicks hosting the Charlotte Hornets. Knicks laying, 5.5 currently at FanDuel. Total 212.5 at FanDuel. Knicks Spread still kind of jockeying here. They're in this kind of fight, if you will, with the Hawks and the Heat as far as that 4-5-6 matchup. Obviously, moving from 6 to 4 or 5 is big. The 4 and 5 teams play each other. You would miss out on having to play the Milwaukee Bucks. So, the Knicks are kind of the odd team out right now. Now, for the Knicks, they're just looking, as obviously they're in the playoffs. That's huge. Again, it's not the end of the world. You're in the playoffs, but you would love to avoid the Milwaukee Bucks if you can and play either the Heat or the Hawks. So there is some movement for the Knicks here. Hawks got some good news with Miles Bridges clear to return after COVID protocols. How much he plays is a mystery. However, getting him back in some form or fashion would be nice. The Charlotte Hornets have really begun, Spread, to struggle offensively. They're just not getting a great, shot selection. They don't shoot the ball real well from 3. They've just been kind of wonky on that end, and at times have looked bad. And that was evident, last Sunday against the Pelicans. I think they scored 11 points in the fourth quarter. Hopefully, Bridges can bring back some sort of conformed strategy with their offense. Now, it's not going to be easy. We know the Knicks have thrived all season defensively. They dictate the pace in every game they play. And Spread, they're playing for something. Charlotte's kind of locked into the playing game here. And look, it's hard to get away from the fact, Spread Astaire, that the Knicks at home this season as a favorite are 14-3 against the number. And in the first half, they're 14-3 against the number as a favorite. This team has been terrific in the first half. They've been terrific in really any scenario at home. I just think the wonkiness, the early start, all that kind of stuff will bother the Hornets a little bit. Knicks, I think, come out on a high note here. I'm going to back them in the first half. I'm going to trust them here. I think this Charlotte offense isn't great. And I've talked also, Spread, about how bad this 2-point defense for the Hornets is. They just don't have any front court. They just don't. I think Randall has a big game here. I'm going to jump towards the first half. Full game, it does come off a little square public to me as far as I worry about that, but it doesn't really matter this year. I'm going first half, though, -3.5.
Yeah, I love your look here. Miles Bridges, of course, is a concern. If he was still out, this would have been a smash spot for me.
How much does he play, though?
And that's the thing. And sometimes we've seen these guys come back, and you can tell that they're obviously hindered by their bout with COVID. And other guys come back, and it looks like, they just spent 10 days by themselves with barely any symptoms. So that's always the one concern. And it's weird that a 3-and-D guy affects the league or your handicap so much, but that's the way the league's gone. You get a guy that's playing lockdown and just knocks down 3 or 5 or 3 and 6 from behind the arc, and that could be the difference between covering the spread or not covering the spread. So I don't love it as much, but I'm still on the Knicks here with you as well. I mean, you brought up the instance. Charlotte's offense is slowed down, and the Knicks have the defense to go ahead and stop their perimeter-based attack. The Knicks do really well switching, and I know that you go on Knicks Twitter, it's so much fun. I mean, that's even more fun than Sixers Twitter, right? I mean, they hate Elfrid Payton. But you listen to the interviews, and Thibodeau says, I play him because I can switch him 1 to 3. I can't do that with Quickly. I can't do that with Rose. So Payton's getting run. Deal with it, because I want to play that switching style defense, and that's what he's going to give them against these attacking wings, Rozier, Graham, and Ball. That's the key to their offense. And like you said, the Knicks will be able to get inside. If anyone's going to be able to exploit lack of rim protection, it's Derrick Rose. So I'm with you here. I like the Knicks. I like the first half and the full game.
Yeah, I just think it's a good matchup for the Knicks. You mentioned, obviously, the inability of Charlotte to guard. And I just think their offense is pretty vanilla. It's pretty wonky, and I think against a defense as good as the Knicks, for a coach as good as Thibodeau defensively, I think they really kind of locked down on Charlotte here. Randall and Rose should have big games here. So, again, props are fickle, but if you're looking right now, maybe a Derrick Rose or a Julius Randle props right now. Julius Randle points, rebounds might be interesting here. It's really hard to watch Charlotte defend inside. And there's Bismack Biyombo and Cody Zeller just not going to get the job done for you. All right, want to shout a couple people out for retweeting. Really appreciate all of you guys. Oaktown's Finest, my man. Thanks for doing that. Guy from the Bay Area, out towards your area, Spread.
All right.
Thanks for that. Mr. Todd, my man, thank you. Appreciate you. Zayn Parquet, thanks, man. NIU, he's graduating soon. Is that this year, Zayn? You're graduating? I guess in a few days, probably. Shout out to Northern Illinois, the Huskies. Shout out Jordan Lynch. Shout out Chicago, for all it's worth. So shout out to you if you're a graduate. Big fan of the graduates. That's something I wasn't able to do in college. I didn't go to college, so shout out to you. If you're graduating and you're watching, salud. Spread Astaire retweeted. Shout out to Spread Astaire, whoever he is. And then Michael. Thanks, man. Appreciate you. All right, let's move on. Next game. I'm leaning Knicks first half. Are you going first half or full game? What do you think?
I'm going to do both.
Okay, there you go.
I'll go ahead and split up my unit there.
I'm going to lean on the first half here. Next one, Nets and the Chicago Bulls. Brooklyn Nets are 11-point favorites currently. Total 232.5. This one's ticked down from 234. Look, it's pretty simple. No Zach LaVine today. And that's all I needed to hear. Once I heard that, I really, really had my reservations on both ends. Because when you look at the Bulls' offense recently, Spread, it's been very good. And you know why that is? Zach LaVine's returned. That's
right.
Why. Without him, this offense sucked. They could barely get to 100 points without him. The big three are going to play, which is going to be interesting. See how they kind of counteract. How much and how long they play is the question. Nets are obviously a defense that struggles, but this should be a game where if you're the Brooklyn Nets, you've really got to, I think, go out and try to have some defensive semblance here. This is a defense that needs to get going, and this is a Bulls offense that I don't think is going to push them very hard. One game I just don't have a ton on. I don't love running to the window to bet on the Nets with the defensive issues. I think that could be the issue offensively with just who has the ball at all times. But I think, look, I'm not going to take the Bulls here under any circumstance. Gun in my head, I take the Nets, but this is a skip for me.
Yeah, I think this is a tough one as well. The return of the big three should be fun. I mean, anyone for these guys to come against, right? It's the Chicago Bulls defense. Even without Zach LaVine, the replacement doesn't do too well either. I expect them to come out firing. They're obviously prepping up for the playoffs, and they really don't have incentive to limit the minutes. They'll get a week off regardless, right? From next Sunday to whether or not they start Saturday or next Sunday, I'm not sure. But they're going to get a week off. I think that we will see, a big game from these guys. I'm not going to lay it, but there's no way I could back the Bulls here. I think it's lay it or don't play it. You either take the Nets or you don't bet this game.
That would be my thought. But I will be fascinated to watch, the big three. Because, look, I think we all know when they are fully healthy, this is the best offense in the NBA. In fact, I think even when maybe one's out, they're still right up there. So, against a Bulls team that's clearly not going to make the playoffs, they're out. They've given up. It could be blowout season today in this one. Dexter Rojas says Bulls are going to pull the surprise upset. All right, well, good luck with that. Listen, if you're going to play it at FanDuel right now. You can get almost 5-1 on your money there. So good luck with that. I won't be joining you.
Dexter's on a roll. He was on the Sixers first half last night. That was an easy cash.
Good stuff. How are you the big man on campus if you never went to college? Sounds like a Ponzi. First of all, Ponzi spelled wrong. Second of all, it's a name, dude. Relax. Okay? I've talked about why I have that name. It really has nothing to do with college at all. The only thing it has to do with college is when I was younger and I was getting into the business, it was just like 2009-ish, 2010-ish. I talked about maybe doing content. We heard about podcasts. My father mentioned it to me. I was at a dinner at their house one time, and I had to come up with a name. I was going to use my given name, obviously, but I wanted to have some kind of nickname. And I mentioned college. I loved college football. The first videos I ever did on SPR were college football. I was a big college basketball fan. And my mom said, well, how about big men on campus? Well, there you go. That's how it happened. But look, it's not literal. Relax, all right? Varun Chada says, spread is the man.
Thanks, Varun.
I agree with Varun. All right, next one. Hey, Barry Rozelle's in here. Barry, you going to be at Borgata this weekend? I'll be there tomorrow night. Let me know. Barry from Staten Island. I don't know if you'll be down there. I know you're a regular there, so let me know. I'll be at the poker room at night if you're there. All right, next one. Lakers at Indiana. Lake Show laying 7.5, total 226.5. It's been a while since the Lake Show have laid this kind of number. Recently, they've been getting this kind of number, but big news today, the much maligned LeBron James will return. Dennis Schroeder will return. It's music to the Laker fans' ears. We know how good this offense can be when they are back, when everybody's healthy. Now, again, I don't know how much Schroeder will play. LeBron, who the hell knows with him? But here's one thing we do know. The Indiana Pacers may rest everybody. That's the talk today in Indiana. And Spread, what's one thing we do know about Indiana, even if they're healthy? They are wretched defensively without Miles Turner. And Miles Turner's not going to play today. I really have no issue playing it with the Lakers here. One good thing as well with the Pacers, guard play's not great. Outside of Karis LeVert, they don't have very much. Shout out to Liv Moods, who was on here the other day. She talked about she loved Drew Holiday props the other night against the Pacers because the point guards are, look, it's T.J. McConnell. Look, say what you want about McConnell. Say what you want about Sumner and the younger Holiday brothers, but they're not real good. They're average players. The Lakers really should be able to kind of do what they want in this game. Defensively, they're very good. With bated breath, I'm laying it with the Lakers here. I think the Pacers really struggle in this game. We know how bad they've been defensively, and I just don't think they're going to have the guns to run with the Lakers. I think they struggle to score here, Spread.
Yeah, I think the X factor in this game is obviously LeBron's health here. We saw him come back, what was that, a week ago? and he played and he checked himself out. He obviously was not 100% yet, did not want to risk it. I feel like there's the same situation or the same type of feel tonight where he's going to test it, give it a go, but I don't see himself pushing it if once again that fails to heal. And it's a 37-year-old with a sprained ankle. I mean, he used to just come back from ankles like crazy, but time could be catching up to him here. On the Pacers side, you make a good point. I mean, if they end, so Sabonis and LeVert are questionable, right? And this game tips off in an hour. I can't believe we don't have the news yet. I think that's a little ridiculous. But if those two sit, this is a smash spot. If they play, this is actually where I had the number lined when I created my lines. So I thought the 8 was a pretty good number with this current lineup. I'd probably stay away just because of the uncertainty around James and Schrader and how many minutes they're going to get. The other thing is this a great matchup for Anthony Davis? If I was to target a prop, wouldn't that be the guy that you maybe be looking at? Seems like even if LeBron's 100%, he's going to want to funnel things through him.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. I think he's been a guy that I had a late night prop that I threw in a couple days ago that came in, and he was the only kind of catalyst on offense that they had. He did not play the first time they played Indiana. They played Indiana back on March 12th. Lakers won a game 105-100. But yeah, I mean, he didn't play in that game, AD. In that game, though, for the Pacers, keep in mind, they only got to 100. Sabonis had 20. Brogdon had 29. Turner played 28 minutes. I'll tell you what, instead of playing the Lakers, what I really like in this game and what I'm really keying in on is I like this Laker defense, okay? And I think regardless of whether, we get all those guys for full 40 minutes or whatever, I think we're going to get them for large parts of this game. I think it's important that they win. Weirdly enough, Spread, the Lakers can still get to the 6th seed. If you look at the the numbers here, with Portland's loss the other night, the Lakers could pass them for the 6th seed if the Blazers also lose their final game against the Nuggets on Sunday, and the Lakers win today and then tomorrow. And they play the Pelicans tomorrow. Right. So, a lot to play for the Lakers, right? And we've heard how LeBron doesn't want to play in that play-in game. So, this could be his opportunity. I'm actually going to go with this. I think it's becoming more and more clear that the Pacers are going to rest players. And when you're looking at the standings here, Pacers are in the 9 spot. I guess they could jockey a little bit, but I'm going under 109.5. That's going to be my official play for this game. Under 109.5 for the Pacers. Really struggled the first time these two teams played to get any semblance of offense. We saw them struggle against the Sixers the other night in a winning effort, but they struggled to score even against a backup unit for the most part in the second half. I'm gonna go under 109.5 for the Pacers. I do like the Lakers too, but I'm gonna just go with that the Pacers don't get into the 110s. I just don't see it happening, Spread.
I mean, if Sabonis and LeVert are ruled out, that cash is like 70 to 80% of the time, right? I mean, they're not going to be able to create offense at all, especially against a top 5 defense in the league and arguably the best defense in the league when they're all healthy. So I like that look too. I mean, even you might want to go Lakers instead of laying it, go Lakers team total over, Pacers team total under. You might split, but most likely you cash both. Split your unit up that way.
Yeah, I'm going to zero in on that group in the Pacers, who I think are going to be a real skeleton unit against one of the better defenses in the league. We know the Lakers generally dictate pace. This one's going to be slowed to a crawl. So I'm going to go under 109.5 here at minus 106 for the Pacers under. Keep in mind, someone's asking about best bets. Those will be at the end, so stay tuned. Next one. Timberwolves and the Celtics. T-Wolves laying a 5 here. How about this? T-Wolves laying 5, total 232. Boston is in the playoffs. They're just kind of floundering. They've struggled. T-Wolves are not making the playoffs. However, the T-Wolves have played hard. They've played really well, Spread, over the last about month or so, 3 weeks here in the season. They've been better offensively. When you look at the Celtics today, from what I understand, Tatum is in, Fournier are in, both on minute restrictions. No Kemba, no Smart. So what that's dictating to me, Spread, is I don't think we're going to see Tatum a whole lot, maybe 20 minutes today. Mm-hmm. Here's the issue. I see Smart out, and I see a defense that struggled all year, even with Smart in, and I see a T-Wolves team, Spread, that has scored over the last 7 games 123 points a game. It's evident that they want to score. It's evident that they probably should be able to score in this one against a Beantown defense that struggled all year. Am I wrong in that thought?
No, I was laughing because you pretty much were getting the same statistics I was about to roll out for the Timberwolves here. 8-5 over their last 13 in that span. So you said, I think 12 games were pretty close. During the span, they're 8th in offensive rating at 116.1. Not much of a surprise with Towns and Russell, but here's where they've really improved, and give credit to Chris Finch and his schemes. 14th in defensive rating at 112.2. They were in the bottom 5 for the majority of the season under Saunders. So that's where the clear improvements come. It's a crazy situation here where this team has a lottery-protected pick, top 3, that could be going to the Warriors. You would think that out of all the teams, they would be the ones sitting everybody, right? They got the new ownership group. They're trying. Gerson Rosas is on his last legs, and I think that this team feels that they already have their core. They're okay with sending that pick out. They want to go in the offseason feeling good, kind of under the Phoenix Suns template that they pulled last year, to get everyone, just feeling good going in the offseason, right? We don't want to go in the offseason feeling like losers. Win 2 more, finish the season 10-5 under a new coach, and those are the games with all your big 3. The last thing the Timberwolves have going for them, if you want to back them, there is a serious case for this team that they want Anthony Edwards to be Rookie of the Year. Now, whether or not he will or won't, I'm not sure. I think maybe LaMelo might still have it locked it up, but regardless, they're going to funnel usage through him. And he's been so impressive here the second half of the season. Talk about learning the game, adjusting to the field game and the speed of the game. He's been doing fantastic here. On the other side, the Celtics, they had nothing to play for. So I did a little crash course on the NBA playoff tiebreakers last year. So Boston is locked into 7. Regardless of the results of the last 2 games. I don't see them. They have to play on Tuesday for sure, so they do have the incentive to rest their best players. I don't see them running players out, being too worried about the results. So I'm with you here. I like the Timberwolves minus 4.5.
Yeah, I'm going to play it as well. I really think what you just said eloquently. It's so true. I do think that's what Minnesota wants to do. I mean, they just – A-Rod and guys like that just started investing. By the way, I was blown away A-Rod has that kind of money. He has sports, owner kind of money. I thought he was rich.
I think he's like a 2% owner, right? I think the other guys are worth all the money.
But it's like a 50-50 split, I think.
Oh, I didn't know he had that.
That's what I read. I mean, I have to look more into it. But, I figured A-Rod was obviously one of the richer athletes as far as, but I didn't think he was sports owner rich, maybe a couple $100 million, but I guess that's a lot of money, deep down. And look, a franchise is generally a good investment, so good for him. He must be doing really well off the field, which is interesting because isn't that interesting to you that he's willingly said that he took steroids and stuff and all that kind of stuff, and he seems to be doing really well, and all the other guys seem to not be. Were involved with that.
One of my favorite guys from my childhood, Mark McGuire, is persona non grata. He was a hitting coach, I think, for a bit. And
you ever hear about Barry Bonds? I don't.
No. And I'm in Northern California where he's revered. You can't. This is the one place where people just turn a blind eye, and he's the man, and he's the best player ever. So I'm surprised that he's kind of disappeared as well.
I mean, I guess I will say, Barry Bonds, he's probably one of my favorite players ever. I don't think Barry Bonds was incredible. It's crazy that you don't hear about him as much. But yeah, I'm going to lean on this Timberwolves here. I really like this core. I like your Edwards points. They do have a nice little core here, especially if they can grab one other guy or 2 other guys. Like a DeMar DeRozan type. Or someone like that. Someone that can kind of be up there with Towns, maybe a true center or something. I don't know, but I agree with you. Okay, I always like to involve the commenter group here. Always very good people in here. We have a great group here, good show. Jimmy, settle down, man. There's no need to call people names. First of all, that's not his wife, A-Rod, anymore. I don't know if you follow pop culture. They're not together. Was never his wife to begin with. So there's no need to call people idiots, man. Do us a favor. If you're going to act like that, just don't comment, all right? We're just trying to have a cool show in here. We've done that in the past, but we're not doing that anymore here. Do the Timberwolves make the playoffs next season? Yes. I do think they do.
Make the play in.
Yeah.
We'll see. The West is so stacked.
Well, you look at right now, they are the 13 seed, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're 11 games back from the Spurs.
Yeah.
It's a shame they didn't play like this for another month on top of the month they've already played well in, because they'd be in striking distance probably.
Yeah.
Wham says, I think my LaMelo future's in jeopardy. I don't. I think he's going to win still. So I'm going T-Wolves minus 4.5. Let's rock with that.
All right, I'm with you there too.
All right, couple more here. Let's go to Phoenix, headed on the road to take on the Spurs. Phoenix laying 11.5, total 225.5. Obviously, this number continues to tick up. The Spurs have said they're pretty much resting everybody. They have to play next week. I think Lonnie Walker will be in there, a couple of guys, Devin Vassell, but most of this core is going to be out. You're not going to see DeRozan tonight. You're not going to see Murray. I don't think you see any of those guys. And the Suns are still trying to get that 1 seed. That win the other night against Portland was huge. So they're still within striking distance. Here's the thing, though, Spread. Winning the game and covering 11.5 are two different kind of marks. Spurs, though, have struggled all year for consistent offense. Spurs have struggled at times defensively for whatever reason. They've wanted to run with teams. But here's my issue and why I'm just going to pass on this one. I'm not taking the Spurs here. And as far as the Suns, I do think they win. I don't think they have any trouble getting the job done here. But I've been really disappointed with this group defensively recently. And I kind of talked about it on Twitter. The other night, they were downright laughable defensively. I mean, Damian Lillard just beat them off the dribble time and time and time again. And I'm not saying Damian Lillard and Lonnie Walker are the same player, but I'll tell you what, Lonnie Walker's shown some explosiveness as well to get to the 10. They should have a better job here tonight, and I've just waited for this team over the last week or two to kind of right a bad defensive game and right the ship and have a really good defensive game. I'm hoping it's here, and it seems like a pack it in. Spurs are just saying, like, it wouldn't surprise me if Greg's just like, you know what, we know Tuesday and Wednesday is what matters. Suns should roll here, but I have some pushback on that defensive effort recently.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a concern going into the playoffs. You'd want them to be trending in the other direction defensively.
And Spread, real quick,
yeah,
to feel comfortable with this game. Because let's say this game is 114-100 with 2 minutes to go. Are you going to feel real comfortable? You want to be up 20 here.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem in these games and laying these kind of numbers. And it's just a tough one.
Yeah. So San Antonio's locked into 10, so we know that's why Pop's sitting everybody. No matter what happens these next 2 days, San Antonio will be number 10. They need to win the first and the second to make the official playoffs. Phoenix, you're right, has the outside chance at the 1 seed, but I think it involves Utah losing to OKC tomorrow night. So I think they're
Kings.
pretty.
They got the Kings.
Oh, the Kings. I'm sorry, it was OKC last night. So I think they're pretty locked in as well. I don't see my hometown heroes pulling off the big upset there. Then we look at this game tonight. It's eerily similar to a game where I missed. It was earlier in the year, and I still it sticks in my head. It was the Spurs. They were on it was 5-7, right? And they're at home and they're playing the Suns. It was their first game back from a road trip, and I said, okay, fatigue fade. I'm gonna hammer the Phoenix Suns at -6, right? Pop ends up sitting everybody, almost like tonight. And the Spurs win straight up. Not only do they cover the number, they win straight up. So I'm wondering if that kind of happens again with these reserves. We know that Popovich always gets them ready to play. They are going to be well coached. They'll play within the scheme. I don't want to lay the number in this game at all. I think that this is really tricky here. Definitely no issues with staying away at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs were able to keep this close, even with their reserves. I think that they fall off less than a lot of other teams when they go to their second.
Yeah, because I do think they have, weirdly enough, they have a pretty deep group. Now, I guess we just kind of look at who will play tonight. Patty Mills, Lonnie Walker. I'd imagine you get either Keldon Johnson or Murray. Pirtle's out. Rudy Gay's out. I mean, Vassal's a good shooter. We'll see.
I think you'll get Keldon, no Murray. I like Keldon Johnson, though. Keldon Johnson is a solid basketball player.
The problem you have here is, and I think people will say, well, what about last night? Sixers, they were going for the onesie. Well, the Sixers controlled their destiny, right? Yeah. They just had to win. The Suns do not control their own destiny, okay? Even if they win tonight, I think it's probably a pretty decent conclusion to draw that the Jazz probably will beat the Kings. So, it's not easy. But yeah, I'm not playing either side. I'm just going to pass it. All right, final game. By the way, breaking news: Domantas Sabonis will not play today. Karis LeVert, though, is in.
Wow, and this is only 8.5. They had only moved half a point. They must have already baked in him sitting.
Keep in mind, though, just because LeVert's in doesn't mean he's going to play a lot. Michael Porter was in last night and played like 20 minutes. So, so there you go. And look, when you look at team totals, okay, you have to ask yourself, okay, who actually scores into the 20s in these games, right? So when you look at the Pacers, the last time these two teams played, Brogdon scored 29. He's not going to play. Sabonis scored 20, had 14 boards and 8 assists. He's not going to play. Turner defensively, Turner with 8 points and 5 boards. Like, there's a lot of things out here. So I think they'll struggle to get to 100. So LeVert being in is fine, whatever. That just means a lot of isolation with LeVert against a good defense. DeAndre Ayton's also out. I will say this, Spread, real quick to this game we just talked about. The Suns are a bad rebounding team. They're one of the worst in the NBA. And they're without Ayton as well.
Yeah.
If you can isolate, and it might be Keldon Johnson. If Keldon Johnson plays tonight, I think a rebound prop with Keldon Johnson could be interesting. There's no props available for this game. Keldon Johnson, I think, averages 7 boards a game. So I'm thinking if you can get 6.5 rebounds, I think that could be worth a look here. This is a bad rebounding group for the Suns. All right, final game. And this could be pretty anticlimactic. Miami Heat at the Bucks. By the way, this game is at 8:15 Eastern. Final game on the card. Heat -3 at Milwaukee. Total 231.5. All right, the Bucks have the opportunity to move up to the 2 seed. However, if the Nets win today against the Bulls, which they're likely to do at 1:15 Eastern, the Bucks are going to know about it, right? This game ain't till 8:15. This game could really mean Ugats to the Bucks. And what do you think, Spread? You probably see the Bucks not caring a whole hell of a lot about this one.
This is interesting here, right? So if the Bucks were just to wave the white flag and lose this game, I think that they would avoid Miami. That would give them a pretty good chance of moving up. I'd have to go up my tiebreakers again, but I think Miami holds the tiebreak over New York, which would allow them to slip into 5 if they win tonight, even if New York were to win. And if they're going to sit everybody, I hope they give us the news early. If they do it right before game time, that's really going to make everybody bad, especially for a primetime game, a standalone game. So I'm looking at it like this. How much pride does Giannis have? Giannis is so wild, right? He stayed in Milwaukee, so he's obviously not, out here chasing rings. He wants to do it on his own. He the Jordan path, right? He doesn't want to just go to LA or go to Miami, right? He wants to do it on his own. Is he viewing the Miami Heat as his Detroit Pistons? And is he, want this matchup? Does he want to go out here and blast them tonight and then blast them in the first round to kind of erase the demons for next year? Or are they going to do what I think would be the smarter path, go ahead and wave the white flag tonight and then grab a first-round matchup against the Hawks or the Knicks? So I'm not actually sure. I've been wrestling with this idea. Last night, was talking with some RPS members for a while. Trying to decide, what Giannis is. And I couldn't find any quotes. So this must be the fact that they're doing all the thing on Zoom, because I can't believe nobody's asked him. I mean, just even if he said no comment, I could tell by the way he smiled or he just reacted to the question whether or not he wanted to play them.
Here's one thing that is interesting. Without Giannis, this team has still been able to score points, right? Yep. And we know they're going to go fast. They play with a high tempo. Miami's been more willing to run as well. Their offenses look better, a lot crisper. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I think this team is scary in the playoffs. I think they're a real sleeper. I think 40-1-ish, 42-1 is a wild price on a really good team that I think is coming together at the right time. I think sometimes they're willing to get into kind of shootouts, if you will. I'm not playing this one. I think it's tough. I think it's interesting, too. Spread. Milwaukee has been a dog 4 times this year. Mm-hmm. You know how many times they've covered?
I only know just because OG Wham just put it in the chat. He says they're 0-4 ATS
0.
as a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not often, but they're not a good – I mean, the Sixers aren't a good dog team either, which is concerning because that generally is insinuating that they're losing to good teams, which isn't ideal. But, take that for what it's worth. But – it's, I think, going to be a passer to me. Let's get to some best bets here.
Let's do it.
I got 3. I'm going to go. And again, I want to make this clear. I think it's important. Make sure your stakes aren't crazy high. It's the last couple games of the season. Save your bankroll for the playoffs. Again, this show is to help you. What you bet is your own business. Again, I'm wagering my money. I don't want to lose my own money, but, you're not going to win every night, as they say. You got to take it day by day. Let's see what we got here. I like these games, though. I'm going to go with the New York Knicks. This game is about to start in about a half hour. New York Knicks minus 3.5 against the Hornets. I'm going to go with Pacers, team total under, 109.5 against the Lakers. And I'm going to go with the Timberwolves, the upstart Timberwolves, minus 4.5 against the Boston Celtics, who I think are going to just say, we don't give a hell about this game. What do you think, Spread? What do you like?
Yeah. Usually I'd like to give something different, but you take the best ones, and I'm going to try and stay away from these games where I don't know the motivation. So I cross the Bulls off and I cross the Spurs off, and that leaves me with I like the Timberwolves minus 4.5, and I like the Knicks minus 5.5 here. Let's go ahead, and we're going to take the teams that are playing well, right? We talked about the Timberwolves finishing the season strong. They've been playing fantastic lately. I mean, if we were only 15 games in the season, we'd be talking about them as a playoff team. And if we'd only gone off the last 10 games, we'd be talking about the Celtics as a lottery team. Love that there. And as much as I like the Hornets here, and the Hornets have been one of my favorite teams to back this year, I hate the matchup for them in this game. I really think the Knicks cause some problems on the perimeter. And if those guards can't get it done, they're going to have problems keeping up, because New York will be able to score against this weak defense that we've been targeting for the end of the season. So give me the Knicks, give me the Timberwolves, and I can't wait till tomorrow, and we'll start keep going and getting ready for these NBA playoffs.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place, here at noon Eastern here on Pickswise, presented by FanDuel. Make sure you go checking out FanDuel. If you're in a area where you can get FanDuel, it has to be part of your arsenal. Truly the best in the business. They have the same game parlays. They have the player combo props that no one else has. Really, they have a ton of great things. Make sure you go check them out. Also, before we go, Spread, this weekend is the NBA Hall of Fame induction for the 2021 class. It is tonight at 5:30 Eastern, which is great. They will enshrine the late great Kobe Bryant. I believe his wife is speaking. Look, and I'm going to say this again. One of my favorite rabbit trails to go down on YouTube is the Hall of Fame induction speaking, the speeches. Allen Iverson, Shaq's is a real good one. Michael's is great. Kobe's will be a must listen. Definitely want to hear that one. Couple other people being inducted this tonight. Kobe, Kevin Garnett, obviously a great one. Tim Duncan, sure Hall of Famer. Patrick Baumann, Tamika Catchings, Kim Mulkey, Barb Stevens, Eddie Sutton, who passed away. And how about this one? Rudy Tomjanovich.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, how about that? remember as a kid, Rudy Tomjanovich was the coach down at Houston. Coached the Rockets in the mid to late 90s to 2000s. Those were some good teams back then. I remember he coached Stevie Francis, and before then, listen, I'll always say this, Spread. How old are you, Spread? You're a little older than me.
Yeah, I'm 45, so I remember those teams.
Well, you're way older than me.
I don't remember Kermit Washington, but
yeah. So you're in that great time where you're a little bit before me. You're in like Donnie's age group where we kind of have a similar growing up. I mean, I had no internet. You had no internet, really.
Right.
We had a little internet. You had none. But I've always said the era I grew up in is the greatest. Everything was awesome. Music, sports, food, everything about America was great then. Until like the late 90s and early 2000s. But, yeah, just Tomjanovich was a great one. Glad to see him getting his – and he's actually a pretty good player as well. He played a lot of seasons. A lot of people don't remember. Rudy Tomjanovich won 2 straight NBA titles, 93-94, 94-95.
Yeah.
How about that? That's pretty incredible.
Yeah, and one of them, they were the 6th seed too. And just one other thing I got to throw in on this Hall of Fame, I think Kevin Garnett's got a chance to give an all-time speech. I mean, if you were to pick someone, right?
Yes.
I mean, you watch his podcast appearance and stuff. He's not afraid to let stuff fly, and he's funny. He's charismatic the way he brings you back to these stories. I feel like, I see the NBC logo in the bottom of my mind as he's talking because I can remember these games that he's talking about. So that's the one. I mean, of course, we're going to have to watch Vanessa Bryant because of how emotionally powerful that one's going to be. But I think for entertainment, I can't wait to see Kevin Garnett.
Yeah, I mean, not only is Kevin Durant one of the greatest players of the last 20 years, I loved him as a player. I loved those old, like black, white, and blue Timberwolves uniforms. He was up there with, Sebastian Telfair and those guys. Well, actually, I think he was traded for Telfair to come there. It was kind of right around the same time. But, he's also – I don't know if you've seen Uncut Gems is a terrific movie. I don't know if you think so, but he was a great actor in that. He really kind of opened something that I didn't know he was able to do. So, yeah, that's going to be a great one as well. Also, it was reported today for the next year's class that Ben Wallace will be inducted. Former center of the Pistons, who, in my opinion, is probably growing up the best defensive player I've seen. I mean, he was right up there with like Dennis Rodman and some of those great defenders, Paul Pierce. Big fan of those Piston teams back in the day. Some of my favorite. By the way, here's a trivia question, Spread. If you get this, you're really good. Where did Ben Wallace go to college?
I'm not going to get this.
This is a tough one. If you know this, you're really good at this game.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it's going to be some small school though. I know it was.
Do you have a guess where it is?
It's in the Midwest. I mean, I don't even know. No.
Ben Wallace went to Virginia Union.
Oh wow.
A Division II team. Shout out to
That's
Virginia Union. One of the guys that, again, shout out to Donnie Wrightside.
Yeah.
What did Ben Wallace not do? Go to a big school.
Oh, there we go.
By the way, anyone know where Scottie Pippen went to college? Oh, I know. Central Arkansas, another small school.
There you go.
All right, that's that for us. Thanks for watching. As always, I am the big man on campus. He's Spread Astaire. Spread and I will return to you all tomorrow at noon Eastern. Make sure you join us as we end the regular season on a high note. We break down all the games, let you know who's in, who's out. We will not be here Monday. Again, we're not here Monday. I have a big day planned, Spread. I got, obviously, today just hanging out the rest of the day. But tonight, great meal with a friend or two, my family. So very excited about that. You don't go out much anymore, but now that it's available to go out, we're going out. So,
all right.
Spread, you have a good day. Thanks for watching, all of you. We'll see you tomorrow, Spread. I'm the big man. He's Spread. See you tomorrow.